Some interesting stuff has been happening again recently on Hedera. It appears as if there has been a new sort of marketing representative taking over the Hedera Twitter account, and they've been tweeting some very interesting things and engaging more and more with the community. Potentially, there are some major game-changing use cases or products arriving on Hedera soon that will likely be melting faces. That is some of the conclusions that are being drawn from members of the community as to why a major upshift in gears in terms of marketing on Twitter is taking place. I'll be covering that in just a second. Looking at the network overview though, many of you guys were questioning the recent lull in transactions we'd seen over on the mainnet. As you can see here, from roughly February the 26th, we saw the average TPS fall down almost half to around 290 to 300 transactions per second. We are now back in the sort of 600 transactions per second. And in fact, looking at the 3-month range, we still see we've got that max transactions per second record we achieved of over 8,000. Hedera, again, now looking at measures such as real TPS, are currently processing more transactions than the likes of Solana, making it the most used DLT that currently exists at the moment, and probably will exist out into the future because, of course, we talk about the sustainability, but also the scalability of Hedera itself. Total transactions of 2.23 billion. So there is an awful lot taking place. In fact, this year, the Hedera network has seen a sustained and massive uptick in transaction volume, the bulk of which being the result of increased enterprise utilization of the Hedera Consensus Service, HCS, as a decentralized public notary and system of immutable record. Year to date, the Hedera mainnet has processed over 2 billion transactions, averaging almost over 400 transactions per second consistently. This unprecedented activity in Web3 has welcomed a huge amount of FUD regarding the validity of these transactions and whether their inclusion in our TPS count is misleading. And of course, people are asking this because of what happens on Solana. For example, majority or the main bulk of transactions, somewhere between 90 to 95% of Solana transactions are actually vote transactions and are effectively spam on the network. They don't provide any value, there are no fees paid, and the rest of it. We want to set the record straight. Transactions using the Hedera Consensus Service are fully legitimate transactions that are being submitted to the network for live use cases. This is what true enterprise adoption of DLT looks like. And obviously they've got an article over on hedera.com now, which talks about the Hedera Consensus Service versus the Hashgraph Consensus Service, and looking at TPS transactions generated by use cases. I've also been tweeted out on Twitter a few times as well, being asked to kind of explain what's happening. All of the transactions that are being run through the Hedera mainnet as it currently stands are in fact generating revenue for Hedera because the use cases are paying transactional fees, those low fixed transactional fees, in order to effectively route the traffic through the Hashgraph consensus algorithm via the consensus service. In fact, I just wanted to show you guys this website I stumbled across the other week or so called Hedera Revenue Report. I think it's called Hedera.report or Hedera.revenue. I will leave it linked down in the description. But effectively, it's looking at two different metrics, the last 24 hours worth of transactions versus the last 10 seconds worth of transactions. And based on that, with the volume and we know the transaction fee, the average transaction fee, you can kind of work out what the yearly equivalent is based on these two different metrics of consensus time, how much revenue effectively Hedera is generating. So you can see over the last 24 hours, if that continued and sustained for 365 days, that would be the yearly equivalent of Hedera making $2.263 million of revenue from that particular Hedera consensus service alone. Of course, there are other elements as well to Hedera, but this is an interesting one nonetheless and goes to show that the transactions that are being run are generating revenue for Hedera themselves. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's obviously been a massive uptick in the number of tweets being published out by the Hedera Twitter account themselves. It looks like they're engaging more and more with the community and looking to almost take more of a high ground stance on the marketing and more of a frontward foot in order to spread the word for Hedera. So 40 million transactions in the past 24 hours. Sorry, slow day. So of course, that's completely sarcastic. That's processing more transactions than any other DLT that currently exists in existence as we are talking right now. So there is more and more of this happening on Hedera. And of course, it's a great way actually to be a little bit controversial, to gain exposure, and not only that, show the product off to either enterprise use cases as well as retail alike. We also had other tweets such as, first they ignore us, then they laugh at us, then they write uninformed, poorly researched and fundamentally inaccurate articles about us, then we win. Of course, many of us have probably experienced or even seen this across different social media places, whether it be Twitter or even Reddit, other places like that, where people effectively come in, they have absolutely no idea because they've done no research, they turn around and say it's fully impossible. There's no way that that's actually processing that many transactions, or it's that cheap, or it's that scalable. And then they just kind of go whatever and disappear and don't want to hear any side of the argument that is to be said. And that's effectively what Hedera is alluding at here. They write uninformed, poorly researched and fundamentally inaccurate articles about us. And then we win when we show them that they actually can deliver on what has been said and that it is actually true. Not only this as well, we're seeing more and more applications, of course, being built on Hedera. This goes way back with Apex Legends. So for those of you who didn't actually know, Realm, which is obviously part of the Apex Legends and EA Sports, if you're interested in learning more about Realm and supporting our mission of getting more esports players paid and fans engaged, tune in for the EMEA preseason finals tomorrow at 5 p.m. CET. We'll be answering questions live. So of course they've got this integration which is being fully built on top of Hedera. I covered this a long time ago. However, the HBAR Foundation is pushing this out again. Of course, this is actually a major use case by a very well-known AAA gaming studio, EA Games, Electronic Arts, with Apex Legends. Looking at DEXs then, some more information come out from SourceSwap Labs. I looked at that sort of teaser tweet we'd seen previously in the last video, but SourceSwap is harnessing the full power of Hedera to bring you the best user experience in DeFi. Our revamped website is set to launch next week, experience significant upgrades across the entire site. And of course, you can see that from the UI as this currently looks from the screenshot. Looks really fresh and modern, and I'm sure there'll be different options for light and dark themes and probably all sorts of the rest of it. Someone also did say, I do like the current interface as it currently stands, and SourceSwap have replied saying we will have a legacy version available, so there'll probably be a toggle available on SourceSwap's website to toggle back to the legacy sort of layout if that's what you wish to do so. If not, this should hopefully be live sometime next week, which is of course very exciting indeed. This is obviously off the back of SourceSwap continuing to develop the DEX solution they've built on top of Hedera. Many of us are waiting for more information to come out of them for phase 2 and phase 3 of staking. Some more breaking news as well. 𝗧𝗜𝗏 World, built on top of Hedera, will enable 100 million monthly Quora users to interact with the #1 esports platform in Arabic world through NFTs and tokens. Things like sports event tickets, access to products, services, events, participation in sports tournaments. I've said this before on the channel. Of course, NFTs are much bigger than just JPEGs. They are things like gateways to particular products and services, and they prove that you own the right to interact with something. And this is how many companies can take advantage of NFTs, right? Tokenization of those particular assets or rights to something. Just a reminder for our beta launch built on Hedera, 𝗧𝗏𝗏 World is a project powered by Quora with more than 100 million monthly users. So we're seeing more and more of these large scale use cases rolling out. Not only that, it looks like Not Centralized will be building on Hedera for RBA Info, which is the Reserve Bank of Australia, DFCRC as well, with these giants, CommBank, ANZ AU, Canvas DeFi, Maneuver, MasterCard AU, for a CBDC pilot project. So delighted that the great team at Not Centralized were among the few selected to join the Reserve Bank of Australia's Central Bank Digital Currency Initiative, and even more delighted that they have chosen to build on Hedera. So we have got a CBDC in Australia, which of course, if you guys have been watching the previous videos, we all know that a lot of their sort of financial side are really heavily integrating themselves towards Hedera as a solution. We are now looking at a CBDC pilot being built on top of Hedera for the Australian market. This is of course absolutely massive news, and as well completely aligns with and dispels those notions of ISO20022 compliance and the rest of it. And of course, there's more information here from Not Centralized. This project will allow us to streamline financial operations, increase transparency and trust, as well as reduce the amount of manual work required for payment processes, as well as the project being able to utilize the principles of our compliance layer protocol, Layer C as well. We look forward to working alongside the other pilot projects to test the potential of CBDCs and further explore the possibilities of blockchain technology. So again, this could be another absolutely game-changing use case for Hedera Hashgraph itself, as well as the potential in the future. Don't forget, this gives more exposure to Hedera as a main name brand for enterprise use cases. And clearly not even just enterprises, but governmental level, almost country level use cases globally. Massive, massive news that cannot be understated. Right then, this is a shorter video than usual, but I want to wrap this up as well. with a sort of scam alert or scam watch for a sort of public service announcement. Obviously Hashpack here saying, but there's more and more of this going around. You guys need to be incredibly careful with the links that you're clicking on. We can see here someone has now paid for a sponsored advert on Google, which is convincing phishing site, which is impersonating Hashpack. Hashpack.com is the URL there. And unfortunately, some people have clicked on this and they have had their wallets drained. So of course, it's really serious and you need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence when you're clicking on these. Sometimes one of the best ways to actually get links is to go to places like Twitter, find the verified Twitter accounts that are well known, and then they should have the links down in their bios beneath, and just seriously triple check the URL that you're actually clicking on and that you're interacting with. Hashpack have reported this advert to Google, so hopefully it'll be removed soon, but no doubt they will create more. And this is just a sign that Hedera is continuing to gain more and more attention throughout the crypto space. It's normally, impersonation is the finest form of flattery, and clearly the scammers are seeing an opportunity here as Hedera continues to grow. They will look for more and more opportunities to take your hard-earned money, so please be very, very careful. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment if you've got something to say, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.